And I saw the first one way back, you know, not when it came out, because that was 96, if I'm not mistaken. I was still a child. But I saw it later on, and I thought it was amazing. Very scary, so that was scary for me. But I haven't watched all of them, you know? Yeah. But I knew about it, and I studied it, you know, before getting the job. I watched, like, clips and watched how the others move and stuff, just to get to
Did anybody encourage you to do that?
No. That's just my, like, acting training.
Okay.
Like, do your research, get ready for the part.
Yeah. How much pressure did you feel in undertaking the role? I mean, did you think that, oh, okay, I'm going to carry on this iconic character in this iconic franchise?
Yeah.
What if I screw it up? Did that ever come through your...
Yeah. Sure.
So how'd you deal with that?
Just drinking. Lots of drinking. That's not true. That's not true. Just lots of drinking. No. I rarely drink. I didn't really think about it that much, I'm not gonna lie. I felt a little bit of the pressure when I put on the costume the first time. Put on the costume the first time, you look at yourself in the mirror and you're like, oh my God, it's the guy. It's him, right? With the mask and the hood and everything, and very imposing and very like legendary, you know?
Right.
But then after that, it's a job. It's like everything else, you know? You just show up and do your work and do whatever you need to do in that moment and get the day done, you know?
You know, sometimes actors who take on a role like that, where they're in costume for so much of the film, the costumes can be uncomfortable, or they can restrict you in some way, or make it difficult to see, or something like that. I always think of the ghostface costume as being kind of this light, flowing costume that maybe wouldn't be as restrictive. But how did you find it?
It was one of the easiest costumes I ever had to wear. Yes, there were like stuff that was in the way. Like the row was quite long.
Yeah.
So for some times when I needed to run after somebody or anything, there was a different row that was like 2 inches shorter.
Yeah.
Because if not, I would step on it. I would step on the road if I ran, and fall over. You don't want that. So we had 2 rows for that. So when I was just acting, it was the longer one, and when I was fighting or something, it was a shorter one. Other than that, it was quite comfortable. The only thing is the mask. Like you can't really breathe in that. It's the only place that you have a place to breathe is the top of the mouth. If anybody has a mask, like a ghostface mask, you can see that the top of the mouth is the only slit that you have. It's the only place air can come out.
So what about the action scenes when you?
Oh, it was difficult. Yeah. It was not extremely hard. I've had situations that were like way harder than this physically, and like really hot or cold or anything like that. But this, just the breathing of like in the action.
Yeah.
Like after the scene, I had to take off the mask and take a couple of breaths. And then the first AD Buck would go like, okay, let's go, put it on. Like, okay, put it back on and go back to work, And then the inside of the mask would be drenched. It was disgusting.
When was it when did you actually realize how much the ghostface meant to other people? Was there a moment when?
There was like 2 moments. The first one was when I put it on for the first time, when I saw the mirror. But that was just for me. I didn't know how much it was a big deal for other people. And then the first time I got to set, and I was going to put on the costume in the trailer. And then all there was like a hoodie and black pants, my boots, and that's it. And I was wondering where the costume was, and then they're like, no, you're only going to put the costume once you get to set, once you get inside the studio, because there might be photographers trying to, with a long zoom lens, and trying to take pictures and know that it's a ghost, like we have a spring coming up. And I was like, oh, wow, okay, that's a big deal. So that's a moment. And then once the movie sort of got finished, and it got announced that I was the guy in the mask, then my Instagram just got like,
oh, I bet.
Not like I didn't get tens of thousands, but I got like a few hundred a day. And for me, that was a big deal. Like, I don't have an Instagram account. And I was like, okay. And people started like DMing me like a lot. Like, oh my God, like the ghostface. I was like, that's, wow, okay, cool. So then I realized how much it meant to people. Yeah. And then the convention.
Well, you know, we've interviewed a lot of people that play iconic roles like Jason and Friday the 13th and Michael Myers. And once you're identified with that role, you're always going to be identified. It may not define your career, but to some degree, you're always going to be Ghostface. So just to let you know.
I'll always come back.
Always come back. Yeah, she always have a home here.
Yeah.
How did you and Jack Champion was the other actor that was in Scream 6 too?
Yeah.
How did you decide to? How were those scenes switched? Did he take a certain kind of scene, or was
Jack,
that a prearranged plan?
Not really. I mean, I was in it 90% of the time. Jack was there at the reveal at the end, of course. And there was one other scene that he wanted to be in the suit. He wanted to be in it, and it's when everybody's seen the movie. I'm not going to spoil anything. Okay, great. If not, cut it at the editing. It's a live show. Don't do it. So the other scene was when he fake kills Quinn. Like we see him through the window, right? So he got Quinn, and Quinn's like flailing. Yeah. That was Jack.
Okay.
He really wanted to do it there, which is great. You know, he did a tremendous job, and that was awesome. Yeah. And then the whole chase and the fight, that was me doing the whole stabbing and the breaking down the door and all that stuff. But yeah, Jack did that part, and then the reveal at the end.
Okay, well, I've heard that the Gale penthouse attack was your toughest scene to shoot.
With Gale? Yeah. Yeah, that was intense.
Yeah. What made it so difficult?
Oh, it was just a long fight choreography. It was like, I think 4 nights. 4-night shoots, and the fight itself lasts, in the film, I think it lasts a good 3 minutes, something like that.
Oh,
like, I'd have to check just to be sure.
Yeah.
But it's a long, so it's a lot of like jumping and running and stabbing and, you know, getting hit and falling down and jumping and all out. So it gets difficult, cardio-wise. Yeah. Plus in the mask that doesn't breathe a lot. Yeah. It gets like harder a little bit.
I think sometimes people don't realize in the magic of the movies, you may see an action scene that lasts 5 minutes, but it took like a week to film.
Oh yeah, and that's fast.
So gosh.
A 5-minute scene can be like 2-3 weeks of shooting.
Have you ever been injured either as an actor or a stuntman on set?
Yes.
You want to revisit that, or maybe not?
No, that's fine. I can talk about it. I'm sorry for, you know, the light-hearted, like injury stories, but here we go.
Oh, we're counting on it being light-hearted.
Yeah. I got my ankle cut when going through a window for a movie called 9 Lives with Kevin Spacey. And during a rehearsal, I went through a window and I cut my foot. I cut my ankle. And my 5 tendons of my toes were like severed.
Aren't those windows, we just had somebody talking about windows, and I thought they were breakaway.
I mean, sometimes you have sugar glass windows. In this case, the window was too big to have sugar glass. It would break, you know, it would have been broken just by hanging it.
Oh, wow.
So it's tempered glass half the time, so it's like car glass. So it breaks down in a million pieces, right? So it's much less dangerous than an actual window, but it's still glass.
Oh, wow.
So what happens is just before hitting it, the special effects people will blow it up. You know, they have like specific explosives specifically at certain spots. And like a fraction of the second before you hit it, they'll blow it up. So you go through it without a big impact. It still hurts, but not as much. And in this case, the trajectory was a little off, and my ankles hit the frame when I was coming really fast, and it cut through my my sock, and then.
Oh my gosh.
Yeah, it happens. It's okay. It's part of the job.
Jumping out of airplanes.
Jumping out of airplanes. But that was my worst one. Like, I've had like a broken finger. I've had like, you know, not a torn, but like a spring clavicle and stuff like that, but it's like much lighter.
How did people react to you when they saw you in costume? I mean, just like, I don't know, were you ever in costume when there were people that were outside the crew and like shooting on location or anything like that? Or,
Oh, you mean the general public?
Yeah. Did you ever have occasion to wear it like
No, not
in
really.
that situation?
No, every time we were on set on location, they were hiding me.
Okay. Did you
That's
have to
it.
sign like a non-disclosure agreement
Yeah,
about that?
Oh yeah.
Oh wow.
So I can't speak about it.
So what is the
So what am I doing here? Damn it.
So what is the penalty for that? Do you lose your job? Do you get fined?
Oh, I mean, dude, you don't go against an NDA. Like you would get sued.
Oh wow.
Like you don't do anything. You lose your job. You know, it's a non-negotiable. You can't talk about this.
Wow.
So.
Serious business.
Oh yeah. I mean, it's a legal document. So during the time of the shoot until the movie came out, I can't talk about it. I can't say that I was on it. I can't say that I did. I can't say talk about the story. It's like, no, it's a big no-no.
Not until they publicize it.
Once Paramount, you know, once the movie's out, like normally it's once it's announced, you can say that you worked on it, but then like don't disclose anything about it.
Sure.
You can't talk about the story or the character or anything. But you can say that you were working on it. Once the movie is out, like for the general public, then you can say it, because it's out. But in my case, I was actually talking with Paramount quite a lot. They didn't want anybody to know that I was Ghostface until the movie was out on video on demand. So after the theaters, yeah.
Even after the theater.
Yeah, they wanted to keep like the fantasy alive the longest possible, which is understandable, like 100%.
Sure.
So when the movie came out in VHS, not VHS, that's old school. Yeah, when you had to rewind movies. Until the movie came out, like on video on demand, I couldn't say that I was Ghostface.
Well, this is the most in-depth question I'm probably going to ask you this evening. What did you enjoy most about working with Courtney Cox? And be honest, did the Friends theme go through your head at any point when you were working with her?
Constantly. Yeah, I was clapping in my head. Yeah. Okay, I'm gonna be honest here. Uh-oh. When I saw Courtney Cox for the first time, I was a bit starstruck. And I don't get starstruck in real life. Like I see a star coming up, and I'm like, it's work, you know, it's a career, like it's fine. But when I saw Courtney Cox, I was like, oh my God, it's Monica. Hi. But then as soon as, you know, she showed up for rehearsal, we shook hands, and we said hello, and then she was like, okay, so what are we doing? And then we got to work, and it just floated away. Got to work, rehearsed, she did all of her stuff herself, mostly, and yeah, she's a tremendous professional.
That's always nice to hear. You were in the first season, and sadly, as you told me today, the last season of one of my favorite shows on Prime Video, and it was 3 Pines, which is based on a series of books.
Yep.
About a detective, police inspector, I'm trying to think.
Gamache.
Gamache.
Yes.
And it's played by Alfred Molina.
That's right.
And you were featured prominently in the first season.
Mm-hmm.
That show kind of had like a Twin Peaks vibe for me.
Yeah.
Is that the tone of the books? 'Cause we were
100%.
talking about that.
Yeah, I mean, I'm not like I don't know a lot about the books themselves. I know about the series because I was on it. But I heard a lot about the books. And apparently it's got a real, like you said, a real vibe.
Yeah, it does.
Yeah.
It's like, there's like a hint of supernatural stuff
Yeah.
going on there, but you're really not
Yeah.
quite sure. But boy, they're the murder capital of the world.
Yeah.
For a small town.
And it all takes place in the same town,
Yeah, I
you know, all in 3 Pines, lots of
Wow.
murders, lots of stuff happening.
Yeah, but everybody should check it out on Amazon Prime. It's well worth it. How did you get that role? Because that's
Audition.
just an audition.
Yeah. That's just like that. I got, there was a casting call sent to my agent. My agent submitted me. I actually auditioned for the part of Rosif, Jean-Guy.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, I auditioned for that part first, but you know, in the industry, sometimes you audition, sometimes it's cast already, like with a star, sometimes it's not, it depends.
Yeah.
So I auditioned for that part. I think they liked what I did because they had me audition for the second part, which was the part of Mike Blake,
right,
who I played, and booked it. So yeah, it was just an audition, and I was fortunate enough to book it.
That's cool. I'd love to see you in something else because you were terrific in that.
Thank you.
I'm going to stop for a moment and ask if there are any questions from the audience before we go on.
So many.
This young man over here.
Nobody's called me young in decades, sir.
Didn't you sense the sarcasm in my voice?
Sorry, what? Max, what are some of the differences in how you approach playing the mass killer in Scream versus the mass killer in Terror Train? Because there were lots of...
That's a good question.
I could see some of the similarities, but how was your approach different?
How was my approach different? I didn't really think about it, to be honest. Like there was no like a process, you know, like specific to each. When I get a job, I study the material and I try to make it my own. And then if the director likes it, we keep going. If they don't, we change it. When I played Terror Train, I didn't know who the killer was. Like they were just like, you're a mass killer who goes after a bunch of students in a train, and then you're brutal and you keep doing what you're doing, and you know that's it. In Scream, you're a mass killer who goes after a whole gang of people, and you know just do your thing. So yeah, I other than studying the material and the script, there was nothing, you know, more to it. No approach that was specific to a character or another. It's just studying and putting it in your body, you know, doing the work in your body. I don't know if that answers the question.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yes, right here.
You sort of kind of answered this. I'm curious to publish this as you versus the director in the studio caring or not caring about this. But in every Scream movie, it's a different killer. So they're not supposed to be in the audience. It's the same mask, it's not the same person. So when you're doing Scream 6, do you get any direction that you're supposed to be this actor who's actually in Scream 6? Or do they just not care?
That's a very good question too. That's a good question. No. So basically, I ask the directors that exact same question, like on set. They're like, do I have to move in a certain way if it's one character versus another character? And they didn't want that. They wanted me to act as I would act, move as I would move, and if things needed to change, they would change it, like in the moment. But they didn't want the audience to know who it could be, you know? So they didn't want me to move like as Jack was moving, or as, you know, Quinn was, or as Dermot was moving. There was no indication of who was who. Like I just had to move like I do it, and make the audience make their own choice. So, yeah, they wanted it to be like a general thing. Does that make sense?
Yeah, I don't like that. Yeah.
I'm sorry.
That's not you.
Go ahead.
Did you ever consider taking on the role of Michael Myers?
Ooh. Would I ever consider the role of Michael Myers?
History.
Yeah.
Yeah, in most of now the role takes a lot of stunt work.
Mm-hmm.
Like the following actors after the castle, like Shanks, Rover had it.
Of course, you know, if the movie ever come to town and, you know, offer me the job, I think I would take it. Although I do think that right now I would love to focus my career a little bit more on the acting side of it with, you know, actual dialogue and lines and face time. But yeah, man, taking on Mike Myers. Taking on Michael Myers would be like a great honor and challenge, the same way that Ghostface was. So, yeah, I think so.
Do we have any other questions? Yes, young man.
Out of any like director you could like work with on any movie, which director would you like to work with the most?
Those are all so good questions. It's
They are
amazing.
good
I love it.
They're better than my questions.
If I had to choose one director,
Yeah.
just one? That's hard. No, there's no favorite. I got 10 favorites. I would love to work with Scorsese if I had the opportunity. Although Denis Villeneuve, who's a man from you know, he's a French Canadian. He's like I am. I worked with him on the movie Arrival. He's an amazing director. Like, he is so in touch with his material and his actors and, you know, the material, and I loved working with him. I loved it. And I was a stunt double for that. Like, I was doubling Jeremy Renner for a couple of the scenes. But I loved working with him and seeing him work with his actors. Like, that was a dream. But yeah, if I had to choose one, I think I would choose Scorsese. I'm a big fan of his films. You know? But that's a good question. It's a hard question.
Any other questions for Max? Yes, sure.
So, long story short, my sister really wanted to act. My question is, if I was to do this, I don't feel like I want to be like at the top of the competition, but I feel like that's always a goal for an actor to do. Like, how do you feel about that? Do you feel like you want to be like the next Tom Hanks, or do you feel like you like being like not such in the public eye, but like they're always like watching you and so
I mean, honestly, I don't really think about it that way. It's a good question, but
I do like that.
yeah. I just wanna work, you know. And if it's, as long as I'm able to like pay my bills and, you know, pay my mortgage and you know, buy groceries, I'm happy.
And I always feel like people are like, oh, that's what they say at first. Like, okay, yeah, so they're still like communicating, so like.
Yeah. I mean, it must be really hard to be at that level. I think level of fame.
Yeah.
You know, fame to me was never a goal. Like, I don't want to be famous. Like, it's not like, hey, I can't wait to be famous.
Like, you don't want to walk down the street and get
No, I mean, I'm super happy for the fans. Like, not gonna lie, it's great to meet everybody at conventions and stuff. But to be like stopped every like 5 steps, like that must be really hard, right? But at the same time, you know, it's sort of the price to pay if you're doing something really good. Sometimes it comes with it, but that's never been a goal. It's always been like, I just want to work, you know. If I'm fortunate enough to get paid to act or to do stunts or, you know, to be in a movie, which is an art form that I love, like, that's the whole goal right there. I just want to work, you know. And of course, you know, the bigger parts are always fun to do because there's a lot to work with. And you can like make choices and you have some sort of creative process that you can do versus being a day player. But yeah, as long as I can pay my bills, I'm happy. Yeah.
Right.
I heard you're from Canada.
Right.
You want to be an actor.
Yes.
Do you, like, for Canadians, there's such a big industry there that they can make a living acting in big budget Hollywood movies without ever having to leave Canada?
There is a market, for sure. If not, I would have stopped doing that or moved. But yes, there is a market. Where I am, there's a French market. Like, there's even a star system where I am. The French-Canadian market is quite nice over there. It's never going to be the same budget as American films. Never. Like, for us, if we get like a $3 million movie, it's a big deal. Here it's like a short film. You know what I mean? It's like very low budget when you got something like that. But there is enough of a market that you can make a living, a really decent living too. Yeah. But we don't get paid 20 million a movie, like the DiCaprios and these guys. It's never gonna happen. If you want that, you gotta move, and you gotta make it, which is a whole other ballgame. Yeah. But there it is.
Any other questions, Jay?
On people that use stunt double, not necessarily naming names, but are there some people that have ever, especially male actors, ever kind of got guide to you as far as, well, I can do this, I don't need you to do this? Or has it always been the director, no, whatever he said, I've hired a stunt person for you, you don't get to do this? Basically, have they ever, like, I'm going to call Jeremy Rare out because you said his name, has he ever looked at you and said, but I can ride a horse, I don't need him to ride that horse. I don't need him.
Right. Not really. I mean, it happens that a lot of actors, they want to do their own stunts. Well, it depends on the stunt. Like, most of the time, if the stunt is dangerous, the production is going to go, you're not doing it. It's in your contract, you're not doing it, whatever. Unless you're producing it, then it's different. Like Tom Cruise, if he says, I want to do the stunts, and then people go, you're not going to do it, he's going to say, I produced it, I'm doing the stunt, you know? But in other films, if the actor gets hurt doing a stunt that he wanted to do, then the production is out for months until he or she recovers. So, yeah, they don't want you to do the dangerous stuff, you know? And it always depends on the stunt. Like a fight scene, the actor could for sure do. Depend on the intensity of the fight scene also. Riding a horse is different. I don't think an actor would be set on fire, like, nope. Or jump off like a building, or do a car crash, or a car hit. You know, those things are reserved for like stunts. Because, you know, if you get hurt, you get hurt, and then production's out, you know. So, it hasn't really happened to me that an actor would be like, no, I'm gonna do this, like, step away, you know. Like, we're showing stuff with the actors, and most of the time, like, a stunt double is just somebody who's partnering. Is that even a word? Yeah. Partnering? I can say that, right? Sorry, the French is coming out sometimes. I apologize.
Kind of like the metrics.
Yeah, right? It's kind of like the metrics.
Translates.
When I say Canada instead of Canada. So it hasn't, like, yeah, the job of the stunt double is, you know, partnering with the actor and working together. Because if the actor can do it, then great, because his face can be on camera, and then they can do it, and then the audience can see the actor do it, which is always better than a stunt double, you know, being filmed from the side or very wide and trying to hide their face through the motion. So yeah, if, you know, we partner with each other and just try to make it work.
Well, didn't I tell you if you stage, you'd be in for a treat? We have one more question over there from that lovely woman.
Have you ever been a stunt double for a scene and they're asking you to do something and you're like, we need to reevaluate this because I don't feel safe doing this, even though you're an adrenaline junkie? Not saying that you wouldn't do it, just like, we need to think about this a little bit more.
I mean, when doing a stunt, there's a lot of preparation that comes with it. So most of the time, these things are going to come up in preparation, not on the day. You know, not the day that we're actually filming. So if those issues happen, that's when they would come up. If they come up during the shoot because it changed, then yes, you would address it. You would go like, guys, it's not what we're supposed to be, and then you would talk about it. Try to make it work so that everybody's comfortable. It hasn't happened that I was like, I'm not comfortable with this, so I'm not going to do it. But it is encouraged to do, not to be like pushed into something you don't want to do.
It's more of like not wanting to do it, but like, I've done this type of thing before, and we need to look at it this way to like maybe change this angle a little bit.
Yeah, I mean, most of the time that's the job of the stunt coordinator in production to talk about it. The stunt coordinator is in charge of safety and making the action as good as possible, but making sure that everybody's safe, as well, not just for the stunt, people, but for the crew as well, and for the actors, but make it as good as possible, right? So the angle and the decisions and stuff, the stunt coordinator is going to be like the ones in charge of that, and then the stunt double or the stunt performer shows up, and then they rehearse it with it, and if they feel comfortable with it, then they go with it. But most of the time, that's going to be issued in rehearsal, not on set. So yeah, it hasn't happened to me that I had to back out of a stunt because I wasn't comfortable doing it. Thank God.
Yeah. All right. Thank God, and we're going to thank you, Max.
Oh, thank you.
This was a terrific panel. I'm so glad that we had people that stayed for it.
Yes, thank you so much. Thank you,
Fantastic
everybody.
job. Let's give Max a hand.